Hey guys, it's Asif at thinkasif.ca, and we have Mike Yosher from Integrity Mortgage Solutions back on, and we're going to talk about a hot topic that's really going on right now. It's in the news a lot, syndicated mortgages. So, Mike, thanks again for joining us. What's a syndicated mortgage?
Well, simply put, a syndicated mortgage is just where there is a group of investors that come together to lend on a single mortgage. I mean, me and you lending on a mortgage is a two-person syndicate mortgage.
Okay.
Right? 5 people get together as a syndicate mortgage, right? So it's 50 or 100 people.
Gotcha. And what type of projects, when you say we get together to lend on one mortgage, what does that mean?
Well, me and you can go and lend together on one house. That's a syndicate mortgage, right?
Okay.
Whereas me, you, and 50 other people could put all our money into one pot and lend as one large syndicate mortgage on, say, a real estate development, where a developer is, building out a condo building or they're building out a subdivision.
Gotcha. Okay. So why is this such a hot topic right now? Why is it in the news?
Well, the reason it's in the news is because there's been a lot of people that have been burnt, that have, lost money. Number two, they didn't understand what they were investing in, right? So they were either misinformed or they weren't properly educated. It's also a hot topic because the people selling the investments didn't really take the time to see or to ask if the investment is appropriate for this particular investor. Not every investment is appropriate for an individual investor, and I think that the regulatory bodies involved, they're concerned about, having people out there that have dollar signs dancing in their eyes and not really thinking about the repercussions, the suitability, appropriateness of the investment for the investor, and so on. As far as the misinformation goes, they're concerned that the risks weren't properly disclosed to people. People thought that, their risk level was, a certain, level, and the reality and the truth of it, may be quite different.
Okay.
As it turns out.
So I know it's in the news because, regulating bodies are getting involved and tightening up. Another reason why I heard it was in the news is just there are a couple of projects that just went sideways. So
right.
Tell me about that.
Well, project going sideways, in a very hot Toronto market, you got to ask yourself what happened to make a project go sideways, right? And I mean, I don't know the details of any particular one project, right? But I would think that there would have to have been poor management or some sort of poor, homework or underwriting ahead of time, right? And that's probably, why they went sideways. And unfortunately, what happens in those situations is that the individual investor just gets burnt. They don't really have a recourse. They don't really have a path to be able to get their money back.
Were these investors informed of the possible risk of losing their money?
I'm sure they have been, and I'm sure they signed some documents that says you could lose your money and so on. This is a risky investment. But it's, it's different when, you have people sign off on something, but then verbally you're telling them, don't worry, it's safe. It's all good. You're protected, you're on title, and we've done this before and you shouldn't worry and so on. Right. Now, I'm not saying that that's, exactly what happened. Right. I just believe that there was a false sense of security that was being provided out there.
So essentially what's happening is investors might have been convinced that they were secure because they're on title, but that's only really good if there's a project gone up, like an actual project that's been built. If there's no project, being on title means nothing.
Correct, and I'll get to that in a second. I mean, if I can just sort of share my opinion on this. And again, I'll have to qualify. This is just my own personal opinion, right?
Okay.
Does not reflect anything, any company in particular, right?
Okay.
So, I mean, I've been to some of these sales pitches. I've seen, how these companies market themselves, right? And my opinion is, first of all, this is a type of investment that should be risk capital. When I say risk capital, it means you should be prepared that if God forbid you lose this, you're not going to be out in the street. This should not be an investment that you put in for cash flow that you need to eat this money. You need to use it, to pay your grocery bills, right? This should not be your entire life savings or your retirement savings, or even a significant portion of it for that matter. So that's number one. Number two, as you mentioned, being on title. I mean, Actually, before I even get to the title, let's start with the way these investments are marketed is that there is a cash flow element to them, meaning you put your money in and then you're getting a check every month, right? Well, where's that check coming from? I mean, really and truly what's happening is that it comes out of a reserve account. So you're essentially getting money back from your own money. So you have the borrower here being the developer, they're paying interest upon interest. What is the point of that? It makes zero sense. If you're investing into, say, an apartment building with a group, right, where there's rent that comes in, so there's cash flow. So to me, that makes sense, right? You're investing, by lending money to a single borrower on a house. They work, they generate money, and they pay you. But if somebody's in construction and they're building something, there is no cash flow being generated. Therefore, why is there cash flow with this investment? It makes absolutely no sense.
Okay.
So if a developer is building something and he needs money from investors, and those exist out there, and then there's other vehicles out there that the way it works is you put your money in and your money's locked up for the duration of the project, be it 2 years, 3 years, 4 years, 5 years, whatever the case may be. But it's disclosed at the outset and you're not, paying interest upon interest, right? What else I want to say? Okay, being on title is another issue, right? A lot of the security that's being provided is saying, "Oh, well, you're on title." Well, so what?
Gotcha.
I mean, me and you being on title of a house that's built out. If something happens, we can go and we can try to sell the house. We can manage it because we understand it. But if me and you are on title with 50 or 100 other people, first of all, we'd have to all get on the same page and decide what to do. Right, which is difficult enough because we're all strangers. We don't know each other. And secondly, we're on title of a development. What the heck do me and you know about, having, to build out a condo building?
Yeah. Sure.
It's a pretty sophisticated situation, right? And pretty sticky. And so if you tell people just because you're on title, you're safe, that's just not true.
I'm getting the distinct impression that you're not a fan of this sort of thing.
No, I'm not a fan in the way that it's been marketed and in the way that it's been utilized. I think there's great companies out there that pool money together for developers and for developments and that do it the right way, right? For a couple of reasons. One is it's a closed investment. Two, they deal mostly with accredited investors, meaning people that have a significant amount of net worth because this is riskier. So therefore, if something happens, they're not going to be out on the street. And also the risk level and the return are sort of in line. People were making, 8 to 10%, on their investment. Well, you could make 8 to 10% lending on a regular vanilla residential house in the GTA, right? That's a lot less risky than putting it into, in my opinion, into a huge development where things can go sideways.
Gotcha.
Right.
Okay.
Some of these other companies out there that do it and they deal with the bigger, bigger kind of developers, they're paying out 15, 20, 30% sometimes.
Oh, wow.
Now that's a higher level of return, right? But it also has a higher level of risk. And it's appropriate for certain types of investors. Right? This is not an investment for, grandma and grandpa who have $50,000 or $100,000 and that's all they have to invest. This is not for that kind of investor.
Okay.
Yeah. And so that's the part that really, irks me, because to think that somebody would take advantage of, someone say like my parents who would be involved in something like that. That just gets my my juices flowing, not in a good way.
Gotcha. Okay. Well, listen, I appreciate all the information. I'm sure there's more to talk about this stuff. So that's all we have for this moment. But if you have any questions on syndicated mortgages, please contact Mike. His information's at the end of the video. Contact myself. I will get you in touch with him. And thank you again for joining us.
Thanks for having me.
Thanks.